Welcome to Superintendent's Corner. I'm Frank Lazzari, Superintendent of the Boardman Schools, and we bring the October version of Superintendent's Corner. Lots of things going on this fall so far. Great athletic teams, football teams still in the run for playoffs, and big talk around the district is what are we doing with middle school rescheduling or reconfiguring. Still a lot going on. Ultimately, no decision has been made. Board of Education, we had a little check-in during the October board meeting. We have more coming up here in November, another work session. So far, I've given some parameters to our principals and teacher teams that have been working on this. I've told them that I still wanted the team configuration where we have teams of teachers working together with a group of students. I still wanted the expanded class periods. If you recall the old schedule 4 or 5 years ago, we only had 42-minute periods. We moved those up to 56-minute periods, and I told them that was another parameter. I also told them I didn't want the intervention period or enrichment period to go away, and that I didn't want our music program harmed by this. So those are some constraints that I put on them. You might ask, as a citizen of the community or as a parent of a middle school or incoming middle school child, why? And it all has to do with equity. Right now, to recap, I covered this last month, but I think it's important to cover this once again. We have a middle school, Glenwood, that has class sizes of 24, 25, 26 in a class, versus Center Middle School that has 17, 18, 19 in a class. And it's definitely an equity issue there. If your child is in a class that has 24, 25 in a class, you're not going to get the attention if you have than if your child was in a class that had smaller class sizes. So that's an equity issue. Title I is also an issue. At Glenwood Middle School, we have a Title I program, which is called School-Wide Title I, versus Center Middle School, which has targeted assistance. Those aren't my terms, those are the terms used by the federal government. This is a federal government program. We were able to spend $110,000 in equipment, technology, for Glenwood Middle School, and because of the guidelines, not my guidelines, these are federal government guidelines, because of the guidelines given to us, we were not able to spend any money at all at Center Middle School. Once again, it's an equity issue, the haves and the have-nots. At Glenwood Middle School, we're bursting at the seams. We have some 750 students versus Center Middle School. We have about 600 students. So there's 150 plus difference between Glenwood and Center, with Glenwood bursting at the seams, and Center has capacity. Now you might ask, well, just redistrict. We did do this back 5 years ago, and I was told at that time that the problem was resolved. But you never know what those situations, what the moving in and moving out in different sections of the community, how that is going to be from one year to the next. So it was okay for a year or two. The populations were stable. But in the last few years, that Glenwood population has burgeoned and gone out of control. And could I redistrict? Absolutely. But I may have to redistrict again in 3 to 5 more years. So it makes more sense to have a school that houses all of our 7th and 8th graders and another school that houses all of our 5th and 6th graders. Parents have often said, gee, I like Glenwood Middle School because it's newer, Or I like Center Middle School because it has this program or that program. This way, we can't be comparing one building to the next because every student will have the same opportunities, the same technology in one building versus the next. Both buildings would have Title I access. Both buildings would have the same teachers available to all the students in 7th and 8th and in 5 and 6. So it's going to be a good thing. We have our transportation issues worked out. We're still working on some music scheduling to make sure that we do have music teachers that travel to right now to Glenwood, to Center, and to the high school. We would have to make sure that the schedules were such that we would have those teachers available for vocal music, for orchestral music, for instrumental music, for band, and so forth. So we're still working on those things, and we plan on having a open community event, inviting the parents in. If not December, then in early January. I'd like to have it in December because in January the weather gets unpredictable and you never know when we're going to have a delay or a closing or a storm coming in. So I probably at the end of November will have more information and hopefully can announce through my November Superintendent's Corner an upcoming parent meeting or meetings for those parents that will be affected by this. Moving on, I want to mention once again about the calendar for the 16-17 school year. We still will have a similar calendar to this school year, starting school before Labor Day. So there will be either 4 or 6 days, student days, before Labor Day. This school year, the 15-16 school year, we had 4 days prior to Labor Day, 4 student days. If we had 4 student days prior to Labor Day next school year for 16-17, we would be out by June the 2nd. If we had 6 student days prior to the start of Labor Day, the Labor Day holiday, we would be out by May 31st. Some people ask why do we have to rush things? Well, it all has to do with state testing. Even though there has been a cutback in state testing and PARC has been eliminated, there are still state tests. This is how the state gives districts a report card. PARC is gone, but we still have the AIR test, and this is the test that will be used in order to judge one school against another school, one school system against another school system. So testing hasn't gone away. It will be here, and so in order to give our students the benefit of the doubt, and we're in competition against every school system around here, and we're always being compared. You want to be able to give your students and the teachers an opportunity to get the material in before the testing takes place in the spring. So most districts around here, even Canfield, started before Labor Day. South Range started before we did. So even the districts that are affected by the Canfield Fair more than we are started the same time or even before we did. So for 16-17, I'm just giving everybody a heads up out there. We will be starting either Thursday, August 25th, or Monday, August 29th. Continuing, we will have levy renewals on the ballot. I'm not going to tell you how to vote out there, but I think you'll agree with me that Boardman Schools are doing a lot of good things. We're known for the 3 A's. Academics foremost are outstanding here in Boardman. We offer 4 foreign languages. No other school system around here offers that. You're seeing me today on Boardman Schools Television Network, channel 204. There's only one other district around here who has a program similar to ours, Austintown, but I think that I'm a little partial to what we do here in Boardman. We have an outstanding television program and an outstanding television staff. In the academic area, we also, for 2 years running, and this year will be the 3rd year, have received the College Board AP Advanced Placement honor roll. And what that means is they compare us to every other school district not just in Ohio, but across the nation, and we're considered an honor roll district. Why? Because we offer, number one, more AP courses. These are advanced placement college courses here in Boardman, where students in Boardman who take an AP course have to take the AP test. In a lot of districts in this area, they have AP courses, but they don't require those students to take the AP test, which I question. But our students not only have or take these courses, but they place well on the courses. And so last year, we were the only district in the Tri-County area to be on the honor roll for 2 straight years, and the preliminary data that has come in indicate that we will be, for the 3rd year, an AP honor roll district. So congratulations, teachers, students at Boardman High School. Our academic program is second to none in this area. In the arts, there's no other district around here that has an orchestra program like ours. We have 4 orchestras here in Boardman. Most recently, in the last few years, you may be aware that we have Project Mayhem. It's kind of a rock orchestra. And we also have our chamber, classical, and symphony orchestra. We have a band program that features not just a great marching band and symphonic band, but a jazz program that I would put up against any jazz program in the United States, not Ohio, in the US, an outstanding jazz program. If you haven't seen our jazz group, there's a free concert during the holiday season, the Christmas holiday season, that I'll mention more about in next month's Superintendent's Corner. And of course, our theater program. Last year we did 3 musicals. We're doing 3 musicals again this year. I invite you to look or to view our Man from La Mancha this November. It'll be 1 weekend, 3 days. So watch the papers, watch BSTN for the dates of Man from La Mancha. Recently, our theater group went to New York City, where they went to Brooklyn to film the opening scenes of Carousel. It's going to be a play done in the spring. So we have a theater program second to none. A band program, and our choral music program, they do an outstanding job. Mrs. Smrek has nurtured and grown that program, and we have to be proud of what that program does. It feeds into the theater program, and it's a world-class program also. So the arts, the academic, the arts, and our athletic program. I mentioned before about our football team, still in the running for state playoffs. We sent our boys golf team to state this year. We sent 2 of our female golfers, Genevieve and Jacinta Pacunas, to Columbus, and I believe Jacinta took second in state. So outstanding athletic programs this fall in Boardman, and that will continue into the winter and spring. So those are the reasons that you should consider supporting the Boardman schools this fall when you see 2 renewals on the ballot. These are not new taxes. The one tax was first passed in 1991 and has been voted positively by the voters 4 times. This will be the 5th time it's been on the ballot, and the other one has been renewed 3 times. This will be the 4th time for a renewal on the ballot. So vote your heart, vote what's right for our students in the Boardman schools. Continuing, we have 2 open candidates, or two open seats for Board of Education. Mr. Davis and Mr. Folks will not be running again this fall, so we have seats open. 3 candidates running: Jeff Barone, Don Riccatelli, and Frank Zetz. Continuing, Boardman continues to try to do what's right for all students. We have a great middle school program where we're partnering with the Meridian Care, offering students free care, free counseling through the schools, through Meridian. We're participating in a Juvenile Justice Center grant with federal money that is a dropout prevention program that focuses on student behavior, academics, and attendance, keeping kids connected to school, offering, once again, free counseling services through JJC, the Juvenile Justice Center. We're partnering with the Boardman Police Department. They just had a grant that was approved for additional SRO help in the district, and so we'll be talking more to the police department and Chief Nichols about SRO help. Currently we have 2 Boardman police officers who do an outstanding job. I know that many of you out there saw some unfortunate things that happened in North Carolina. Our Boardman police, they are professionals. Things like that don't go on here in Boardman or in this area. So more to follow on that. We're also participating in a grant for positive behavior intervention. Instead of doing so much in the area of suspending either in school or out of school or expelling, we're looking at ways to affect student behavior through positive behavior intervention. So our guidance counselors and principals will be going through this type of training upcoming here in November and throughout the entire school year. I want to remind our senior citizens out there about the free senior citizen passes to those senior citizens who are Boardman residents and are 65 years of age or older. If you don't have one of those passes, please come to Center Middle School to door number 1. Have identification with you that shows that you are a Boardman resident. Those passes will get you into sporting events. It'll get you into our music events. Unfortunately, it won't get you into our plays. Our plays, we pay thousands of dollars for the rights to have the plays, to the scenery and so forth. So again, senior citizens, take advantage of those passes for sporting events and or musical concerts. We're looking at a program for family passes. I asked Mrs. Gorski, our athletic director, to look at a way where we can give some relief to parents who have children playing in middle school sports, high school sports, either a book of passes or a family pass that you would pay a much lower rate. I've talked to parents who are paying $100, $200, $300 a month because they attend all their children's sporting events. So it may not come around this school year, but I have Mrs. Gorski contacting both the All-American Conference and Federal League teams to see what sort of passes they have for their families. A lot going on in the Boardman schools, and I appreciate the support that everyone gives the Boardman schools in the past and look forward to your support in the future. Boardman Schools Television Network, of course, is your link between the schools and the community. Please continue watching and appreciate all we have here in our Boardman community and in the Boardman schools. Thank you for tuning in today.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Boardman Board of Education School Board Report. I'm Andrew Onesti for Boardman Schools Television Network. In this segment, Mrs. Kim Poma, board member, joins us today to highlight the October Board of Education meeting. Welcome, Mrs. Poma.
Thank you, Andrew.
The regular October meeting of the Boardman Board of Education took place at Glenwood Middle School on Monday, October 26th at 8 p.m. Mr. Davis, the president, called the meeting to order. Mrs. Poma, were all the board members present?
All 5 board members were present. Mr. Davis is the president, Vicki Davis is the vice president, Mark Folks, John Landers, and myself. We actually met at 8 o'clock that evening because we had a special meeting at 6 o'clock. At that meeting, we had presentations from middle school principals, Bart Smith and Randy Eby, as there's a committee formed addressing the possible realignment of the buildings that a lot of people have heard about, and they just wanted to update the board. And then that was followed by a detailed presentation of the 5-year forecast from our treasurer.
Did anyone address the school board, Mrs. Poma?
The board was addressed at that special meeting, actually. We had some students from the middle schools address the board with their right according to board policy, and a number of questions came from the audience as well.
Was there anything in the board members' business?
Just board members' business. Upcoming early November, the board members are going to Capitol Conference, which is our state convention, and it's an opportunity for us to get updated on current affairs, legislative matters, things like that, new technology items, and to speak with board members from across the state. So we reminded our board members that that's coming.
Okay. Would you highlight what was discussed in consent agenda, Mrs. Palmer?
Sure. The consent agenda is one motion that covers many items in one vote instead of each item being discussed separately. And it's usually for routine items such as where our investments are held, what checks are written by the treasurer's office, minutes, approval of the minutes from our last meeting, and personnel matters.
I see we have a couple resignations.
We do. Barb Marks is a second grade teacher at Robinwood Lane Elementary School. She'll be retiring at the end of the school year. And Jill Deering is a longtime administrative assistant currently with the Director of Operations, and she'll be retiring as well. We wish them well.
We also have a parental leave of absence. Would you tell us about this, Mrs. Palma?
Well, with the staff our size, we often have parental leaves that we approve. Amanda Biro is taking her first year of parental leave through the end of November. We wish her much happiness with her new baby.
Would you tell us about the long-term substitute?
Sure. Courtney Ambrosino had her first year leave of absence approved recently. She's going to be out for quite a while, and the board approves long-term subs that are going to be there for over, I think it's 20 days. So we approved Teresa D'Alessandro to fill in the classroom, and the kids will like her as well.
I also see we have many on-staff and off-staff supplements this time of year.
Mm-hmm. Supplements are always interesting. They're additional small contracts for on-staff people, off-staff people, and some people volunteer to take that effort on without pay. This year of significant note, we early in the year approved a lot of advisors and things like that, but the speech team has been without a director for a little while, so we were very pleased to approve Elizabeth Miller as the director and Mark Bottarelli and Randy Nord as assistants for the speech team.
Everyone great for that position
Yes.
as well. It's great to see that we have a few volunteer coaches too.
Right. Volunteers are always amazing to me because it is a commitment, and it's just because they're passionate about the kids and their sports. So we approved that Linda Knox will be a volunteer 8th grade girls basketball coach at Center Middle School, and Dylan Bassetta and Mark Kaladi will be volunteering in the boys basketball team.
I understand we approved a list of certificated and classified subs, as is customary.
Yeah, every month we approve subs that are either certificated or classified or long-term subs. We have a shortage already. So it's early in the school year and we already have a shortage of subs, so we encourage people to come forward and get their names on our list. It's a foot in the door for a great district.
Mm-hmm. What was discussed under treasurer's business?
The treasurer's business, as I've mentioned before, the treasurer and the superintendent are the only 2 employees that report directly to the Board of Education, the treasurer being one of them. Greg Slemons is a new treasurer filling in for Rich Santilli, who took an early medical leave of absence, and he is presenting to us facts in a way that we maybe didn't see before. So the special meeting, we had talked in great detail about the 5-year forecast, and we actually approved that under treasurer's business. As well, he had a meeting earlier in the month about booster groups and volunteer groups and Bebop and boosters and the Dugout Club and all of those groups. explaining the proper way to handle their finances for the district so that everybody's covered with insurance and not doing any fundraising that's inappropriate. And they presented their fundraising plans for the school year. So they're a very organized group of volunteers that support our extracurriculars.
What donations were discussed by school treasurer, Mr. Greg Slemons?
Yeah, I like the donation list. I think everybody fights over who gets to vote to approve that. It's always amazing to me how people step forward and make donations that allow us to do things we might not otherwise be able to do in the district. So Stadium Drive accepted a $150 donation from John Darnell, who's the owner and editor of Boardman News, for the September 11th ceremony. Stadium Drive Elementary also accepted $25 from Target's Thanks a Billion program, and it goes into pupil support to be used at the principal's discretion. And the high school received $200 from on-demand drug testing to be used to support the Yes Fest that was held earlier this school year.
Let's go to Superintendent's Business by Mr. Frank Lazzari.
Mr. Lazzari always has some matters of business for us. He presented a contract for our approval for audiology services. We have, of course, hearing impaired students, and we receive some services from Youngstown City Schools. We also, as a board, are responsible for policy, and it's a two-read process. We read them one month and we approve them the next month. So this month we had the second read and an approval of a number of policies. Almost all of them are a result of legislative changes at the state level, and we're required to make those changes. But in particular this month, teacher and administrator testing, early intervention, and graduation requirements were most of the topics.
Let's go to recognitions of students for this month. At Stadium Drive Elementary School, Stadium Drive students, staff, and PTA donated $4,217 to the family of Leland Reynolds, a first-grade student at West Boulevard Elementary, who was diagnosed with cancer. The money was raised through Pink Day for cancer awareness. The Glenwood Girls 7th grade volleyball team, composed of Reagan Berkey, Evelyn Fleet, Kaylin Golden, Hannah Henry, Madeline Moran, Katie Stamp, Emma Tokarski, Maria Torres, Eva Velasquez, Abby Wagner, and Ariana Wilkinson, had an undefeated season with 18-0 record, the champions of the AAC tournament. The Glenwood Girls 8th grade volleyball team, composed of Jenna Burns, Michaela Bryan, Hope Burford, Lauren Fetzko, Emma Erickson, Kennedy Page, Madison Raschuti, Maddie Terrell, Brianna Valentini, Sarah Varga, and Julia Yager ended their season with a .5 win with an 8-8 record and won the first game in the AAC tournament.
Those girls were at our meeting, and we got to recognize them, shake their hands. What a high-energy group. You could see why they win.
That's perfect. I'm sure their hard work definitely paid off, and you can see it does.
They have a lot of fun, too, I think.
I see Mr. Lazzari also approved several field trips.
He did. Mr. Lazzari has the authority to approve field trips and present them to us as informational items, so he made us aware that the orchestra will be going to Cleveland for their state competition and Nashville for their national competition. The baseball team is going to Florida, likely over spring break. I'm not sure when spring break is, the end of March. And the 8th graders at Glenwood Middle School are going to Washington, D.C. in May.
It's such a fun trip, too.
Is it really?
Yes, I remember going.
If they behave.
Here's a list of some upcoming events. On Wednesday, November 11th, we have Veterans Day. On Friday, November 13th at 7 p.m., we have the BHS Sadie's Hawkins Dance in the BHS cafeteria. The fall play, Man of La Mancha, will be held in the BPAC on Friday, November 20th at 7 p.m., Saturday, November 21st at 7 p.m., and Sunday, November 22nd at 2 p.m. On Monday, November 23rd at 7 p.m., the Board of Education meeting will be held at Robinwood Elementary School. On Tuesday, November 24th, from 3:30 to 7:30 p.m., we will have conference night. On Thursday, November 26th, and Friday, November 27th, we will have Thanksgiving recess. Were there any final comments by Board President Mr. Davis?
Just a reminder that there are 2 vacant seats on the school board. Longtime board members Fred Davis and Mark Folks have opted not to run again as incumbents. So there are 2 open seats. There are some candidates on the ballot that are all highly qualified, and we hope that everybody exercises their right to vote.
Thank you for joining us today, Mrs. Poma.
Thank you.
You definitely won't want to miss out on all the exciting upcoming events. A shout out to Stadium Drive Elementary School students, staff, and PTA for the donation to Leyland Reynolds, a first grader at West Boulevard Elementary. You are in our prayers, Leland. Check out our Boardman Schools website for further details. A reminder that our November Board of Education meeting will be held at Robinwood Elementary School on Monday, November 23rd at 7 p.m. This is Andrew Onesti for BSTN. Let's keep striving for excellence.